Ladies and gentlemen, a very, very warm welcome to the Developing Dads podcast. We are on episode number 75 of the Developing Dads podcast. We haven't actually prepared much for this one, I'll be perfectly honest. We decided that we're just going to do our podcast because that's what this is about. Like, again, reminding the audience or any new audience that are here, we do this because it's actually just a recorded catch-up, basically, between me and my little brother Neil. And we're cementing our thoughts, feelings, general meanderings in whatever is the ether and space and time of the internet for whenever our kids grow up and their kids grow up and their kids grow up to see, you know, how ultimately racist, misogynist and homophobic we are, Neil.
Yeah, it's good to be back.
That was a joke, in case anyone thought. Just because time passes and
you never know though what interpretation people have,
and that's kind of like that's such a shit part of life now, isn't it? Really, because we're just so we talk about being kind to each other, but we won't allow someone to make a mistake.
Yeah. I know.
Like that is just it's so dumb because you know, like words that were even used in our lifetime were probably weren't appropriate. But I'm not going to like hate someone. Like I'm not going to basically drag them through the mud because 30 years ago, they were using a word about a Chinese takeaway that's not appropriate.
Yeah.
You know, like it's just kind of, sometimes you have to say it's a joke, but I don't know if I should. Who cares? Like fucking, who knows, right? But anyway, yes, this is episode number 75 of the Developing Dads podcast. We got straight into a little political discussion there on society and culture. We are just going to go through a few thoughts on this week. I've actually got some bits and pieces because we've been doing some things at the house and then started a new podcast, Neil. And wow. I am off to Belfast next week, and we've got lots of things like that to talk about. And also, I'm selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, which is a whole other ballgame of dealing with the general public, which I didn't expect, but here we are.
I've been selling stuff for years.
It's something else. Anyway, this is titillating the audience, I guess, Neil. It gives them kind of an opportunity to think, "Ooh, that sounds like an interesting conversation." Facebook Marketplace. But we do use this podcast, as I said, to catch up with each other on a regular basis every week. You know, I don't think in the history of our lives together, beyond living together when we did Mum and Dad's, we've spoken to each other as much as we have in the past year and a half. Would you say?
Yeah, I'd agree. I definitely agree. And I find it quite nice when we don't speak for like the week and then we've got lots of stuff to talk about.
Why? Because you just feel kind of upset that your life is extremely boring. Is that what you're saying?
No, I've got an exciting week to share with all the 2.5 listeners.
Yes, if anyone does follow Neil on Instagram, he was dressed as a Peaky Blinder last night, so it'll be quite interesting to find out how he came to that outfit choice. Either he was going to a funeral or he was going to try to rob a bank. It was one or the other.
Or trying to save money, yeah.
What, you stole your wife's waistcoat? Anyway.
My wife definitely does not have a waistcoat.
We do like to catch up on this podcast because, you know, men should ask each other. Actually, fucking scrap the gender. Everyone should be at least asking.
What's a man?
No, let's not do that, Neil. Come on, get out of that. We should all ask each other how we are from time to time. So yeah, Neil, how are you doing? And how's your week been?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'd just say I'm all right. Like some of the podcasts.
That's a hell of a build-up. Like we had a bit of a build-up there where you were telling me how amazing your week was.
I'm being honest. I'm being candid.
And now you've just come back with the idea of, I don't know, it's been all right.
Just like it seems illness after illness after illness, after ear infection, after funny skin rash things for the kids. Just like the last few weeks have been just getting through illnesses and not sleepless nights, but rocky nights. So yeah, I'm all right. And then last night, I'm a bit croaky, but last night I was out. Anyway, my week. Well, for those that do listen regularly, you'll know that I was transporting a hell of a lot of flooring up to the Isle of Skye in my family wagon. And I was scared of the whole suspension thing and getting there. And we got there successfully.
So it made it. So that I know the 3.5 listeners have had a tense week wondering whether or not Neil was at his limit of his suspension. What was it, 700 kilos and it could take 800? And you made it.
Yeah, we made it. But like I didn't account for like me, James, and all James's tools. So we were definitely over the 800 kilogram limit because we had a lot of tools. Anyway, we made it.
Do you think people were sort of driving behind you going, oh, this looks like, when you see like the Fiesta that's got 4 people in the back and then 2 in the front, and it's kind of bobbing a little bit along the road.
That's exactly us. And like a few police cars overtook us on the way up, and I'm like, I don't get to stop because apparently you can get fined and points in your license if you're overloaded.
Interesting. What do they mean by overloaded?
So they've got pads where basically you drive your car onto and it tells you the weight of the vehicle, and then they work out what your capacity should be.
Because there was actually do you remember Barry from up the road?
Yes.
So it's a neighbour,
1998.
So this is a neighbour of ours from many, many, many moons ago. But one of his fun facts that I remember was he always had nice cars, and one of them was a Land Rover Discovery. And they're notoriously large cars. They still make them now, right? But it could tow its own body weight.
Well, oh yeah,
or its own car weight. So it's like he was suggesting that because I don't know why I remember this because you then are able to tow like another 2 tons or something.
Yeah,
you're like an HGV vehicle. So you're supposed to have like a driving license for that. So I'm assuming that's what that is it?
Yeah, it'd be something like that. But yeah, thankfully I didn't get stopped, and we made it there. And I spent the weekend. That was some shift, like fitting flooring, but in the herringbone style. Which now I've mastered a skill of fitting flooring herringbone style.
Mastered.
Yeah, like it looks fucking awesome.
Mastered.
It was a good laugh. Like James and I did it together, and William helped as he could, and then just like beers at night, nice food, fire, just usual Sky
just
stuff.
That was a bloke weekend, wasn't it? Ugh, I'm gonna drive my car. It's overloaded. Who knows if we're gonna make it? There's the police there. They might stop us. Oh no, this could be terrible.
Beers
and then
at lunchtime.
What we did, I mastered a skill over a weekend of fitting a floor, and then in the evenings we drank beer and had a fire.
And we talked about masculinity.
And we talking about being men.
Exactly. So that was my weekend summed up. And I came back Sunday night drained. Like, yeah, we were working 15-hour days to get the flooring done.
It's tough being a man, Neil. Tough, isn't it?
It is. But the wife and the kids don't understand.
Dearie me.
So yeah, I came back Sunday night to just chaos. The usual, like, excited to see me, blah, blah. And back to work on Monday. So yeah, the start of the week was a bit groggy and can't be bothered. And then last night I got in. Well, I've been invited for a while. Craig invited me to this black tie event for an awards thing, and Craig was presenting an award to a company, and it was like all
your
about
boss,
entrepreneur. Yeah, my boss. All about entrepreneurship of Scotland and like the kind of best entrepreneurs and the best companies within Scotland and stuff. And it was some fascinating stories. There's this guy called Gino, which is not a very Scottish name. He came over here from Italy when he was 12 years old, lived in a small town in Scotland, bought a dry cleaning business when he was 18. He got a loan from the bank and sold that, and then bought a cling film company and sold that for something like 80 million, and then went into making things for hospitals. Just his story, he's like 90 odd now. He did a big speech. He won the kind of, I can't remember what award he won, but he won an award, and he did like a half-an-hour speech. And his story was just eye-opening, going from like, knew nothing about dry cleaning, knew nothing about cling film, but knew you could make it better. And like his dry cleaning stuff, he improved the kind of systems and the efficiencies. The cling film company, he actually made the first cling film dispenser, which is used in like hotels now. So he patented that, and then sold it to a massive company from Germany, and then went on to do some stuff in NHS. And his latest thing he started is, I don't know if you noticed in the 1990s when airplanes used to land, there used to be like a puff of smoke. You ever like, they used to like touch down and the wheels used to like generate some smoke. And they're saying that apparently like £50,000 was lost on tyre tread and stuff every time a plane landed, or over the course of a week. And he was like, well, if we got this wheels to spin as it's about to land, it's going to stop the friction. So anyway, that's his latest invention. So yeah, just like a fascinating guy. Weirdest accent ever, from like young Italy to now Scottish borders. And and his whole family, his daughters were there and stuff. That was really nice. And yeah, just other stories of companies that have been successful. Like this window company that turnover from Scotland, turnover £90 million a year. So like windows. So
do you know when you're kind of listening to these types of people, right? Isn't there just a certain point where they are so far from where you are, it seems impressive.
Yeah.
If you think they're going to look at someone like Bill Gates and be like, wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. There's definitely that gap. But I guess make the gaps smaller when you're part of the same event and all started in Scotland. Like Bill Gates is obviously fucking miles away and a multi-billionaire. This guy, probably the Geno guy, I reckon he's worth probably 100 million. I need to do some research, but yeah.
Yeah, it does seem pretty cool and amazing. But then, equally, Seattle in America is really small, right? So it's, I don't know. It's kind of like, I find myself at the moment kind of thinking, well, I've managed to get past what I grew up thinking would be a good salary. But now I'm kind of stuck in that thing thinking, it's a good salary, but then I could do more, but then, it feels scary going and earning more.
Yeah. Like, I don't think we talk about money, but this Geno guy, an example, I don't think he did it for money. I think he just did it because he found a solution to something that he could do better.
He got beyond that point, sure. Like, he definitely got beyond the point of like earning money.
Yeah.
Because like, who needs £90 million?
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like I could still earn a bit more. Like, I could still earn a little bit more. So I don't know. I'm trying to get out of the small kind of mind thinking to some extent, and it's not small because it's more than what I was doing before. So it still feels big, but it feels even bigger. And it's that kind of like, well, how do I don't know. I'm trying to work it out, I guess.
Yeah, the whole money thing is interesting because you could get a second job. You could, if you really wanted to earn more, you could like work nights and I could move on companies. But
No. Okay, no, I'm not talking about earning an extra 20 grand a year. I'm talking about earning like another 200 grand a year.
Okay.
So it's not so much within the capacity of what, or it's not so much within the confines of what's a bit more. I'm talking like, can I take my business to turn over $500,000 a year? Can I take my business to turn over $1 million a year?
Yeah. But then,
I take my,
as I've mentioned in a few podcasts, that obviously takes, what's the word? In my head. Sacrifices to be able to do that.
But there is and there isn't. Like, I think if you are hard on, like, so again, what I don't want to do is to have a large team, a large employed UK-based team. Don't want that. Not interested in that whole kind of like politics and, the kind of the way I feel about how young workforces now consider work to also be somewhere where it's fun and it's fluffy and enjoyable and everyone has an opinion and everyone should be heard and everyone should be blah, blah, blah and whatever else, right? I can't stand that kind of management. I'm not interested in doing it. It's not something I want to do. I also don't want to play the employment tax, the national insurance, the pension contributions. Like that, all that is just hammers your overhead. It's an overhead that hammers your profits. And it's hard enough to make money, especially when you start getting into VAT and all that kind of crap, right?
Yeah.
So I think of course you take on responsibility and you have to sacrifice something, but equally you can stay true to stuff that you're like, if this is what I want, then I can only get there within these parameters. And if I can't get within those parameters, then okay, I'm fine. I'm okay doing what I'm doing and how I'm doing it. So I guess like part of me is like, I agree, and there are going to be sacrifices, but at the same time, if I'm very clear on what I don't want, then if I don't get there, I'm like, well, okay, whatever. It doesn't matter because it wouldn't have worked for me anyway. But if I know what I don't want, then I can try and find ways in which things can fit the thing that I want.
Yeah, that's fair.
That makes sense.
That's fair.
What else have you been doing apart from getting pissed wearing a waistcoat and a black tie? Black tie? Why were you wearing a black tie?
I didn't have another tie, and I was wearing black shoes, so I thought that kind of matches. It was a black tie event. Majority of people were in black ties or bow ties, so I didn't feel. I felt in line with everyone else around my table. But it's funny. One of those events. It's probably the first formal black tie networking event I've been to. I've been to a few breakfasts and stuff, but yeah, you're like sitting at a table with nobody you know, and I knew Craig, and Nikki was there as well from our head of marketing. And yeah, you know those two, but then the rest of the 10 people are like other entrepreneurs or other people. And one of the companies actually was a company called Bad Dinosaur, relatively young CEO. He won top CEO of the award, which is quite cool. But yeah, it's just like you've got to try and get out of your comfort zone and make conversation with people that are generally interesting, but it's like I don't personally, I'm not that interesting to me, so yeah, it just feels a bit weird. But anyway, it went well.
What do you mean they're not very interesting?
No, I said I feel I'm not interesting, but these people are because they've founded companies and they're managing 50 odd people. And
you know what the thing is though, I've come to realize is those types of people are work figuring it out just like you are.
Yeah, like there's definitely that, and there's definitely like you hear Craig speaking to them and like giving him his words of wisdom and their words of wisdom, and everyone's going through the same SHID, especially during this climate. Like there's companies from like window making companies to software companies and they've all got the same problems of cost. Like costs are just shooting up, and there's not much support from the Scottish government, and that was interesting actually. So there's a lot of political chat up on stage. There's maybe about 100 people in the audience, but there was like a person that was hosting it. He was a comedian, very funny comedian, but he was going all in on like political stuff and race and gender equality. And he was like, he told one joke, he was like in Dundee University last week, and they have what's the word? Multi-sex toilets, whatever. Male and female toilets, but all the same. And he was like, I don't know what to do, so I left the toilet seat up and sat down. There's this company that won employee owned company of the year in Scotland, and they all came up and they were all like middle-aged men, some balding, like some rather big, and he was like, well, this is the most diverse company I've ever seen in my life. It just really everyone was laughing. It was in good sense of humor. But yeah, so that was a good night. What else have I been up to? Well, yeah, that's it really. Work's
great.
busy.
What you gave us a right good going to begin with when you were talking about how fantastic your week's been, and we've got two things. One was
I'm on a high from last night. That's why.
Oh, right, okay. Did your company win anything, or were you just there to fill seats?
So Craig was nominated for CEO of the Year award. He got into the finals, but he didn't win.
Oh, very good.
So
excellent.
I think there's 3 people nominated, and the Bad Dinosaur guy.
Was it largely all like? What was the spread of people in the room?
I would say 80% men.
Interesting.
And Craig describes the group as basically they just like use each other's businesses. Like there's a lofting company and everyone uses him for their lofts. So like they kind of grow together. It's like this, I don't know, commune. It's not a cult.
It's called nepotism.
Yeah. But it's interesting, especially the window.
Yeah,
I was going to say the window company that won high growth of the year, £90 million a year selling windows. It was a table of just like all 40-year-old men, balding, big bellies. Just like.
Well, I mean that's Scotland to some extent. Like, there's not Scotland's not really known for its diversity. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and we're quite small in terms of.
Yeah.
Like if you went to an event in London, it would be diverse as.
But I think to me it makes me even more so aware that the in-person thing. I think we've talked about it before. It's like the in-person networking thing. It plays a massive factor in your ability to like sell things or make acquaintances that ultimately lead to something else, to lead to something else, to lead to something else. Like that whole conversation thing. And the idea that you can just sit on your laptop and earn millions of pounds or do hundreds of thousands a year or whatever else without having regular contact with human beings. Maybe you can, but I still think most businesses operate in a way in which there's still very much a conversation with a human being at the end of the day.
And
that
got brought up in terms of remote working, and like the technical people of our company, they don't really come into the office, don't come to social events. And it's like, long term, what's that going to do to their mental health, but their career and their aspirations and their ability to earn more and all that stuff, because they're just kind of stuck in their ways.
And if you don't want to, okay, but
what's the impact?
Yeah. What is the impact? I don't know. I think to be fair, I think you've got varying different types of people that work in organizations, and you need some people that are just going to turn up and do the thing. And whether or not they want to like engage in social activities or come into the office or whatever else, then it doesn't matter. Because as long as at the end of the day they're still able to complete the task that you've asked them to do, and usually they're probably pretty good, and you kind of don't want to get rid of them. Yeah,
you're right. And we also talked about personal brand, and we've talked about that before. But like, it's so important. Even if I work in the private sector, I've got an employer, and like you own your own company. Personal brand is still massive and still really important, because if I want to move on, or if I want to even win work for the company I work for, personal brand goes a hell of a long way.
Well, it's a thing I sell now to some extent, is helping individuals build their personal brands. It's a bit of a wanky term, but it's definitely true, right? You know, if you look at a lot of the products and things that are going viral and being very successful with them, they typically have a personal brand behind them.
Yeah, Steve Bartlett's that's all him really, and his name.
Yeah,
even James Watt's starting to get that kind of traction in terms of what he's up to.
Yes, yeah, exactly. But then I think you look at the Shopify podcast on the Diary of a CEO. He's very much not necessarily working on a personal brand. He did it very well in terms of a PR exercise where he talked a lot about Shopify and was clearly very much targeting a demographic of individuals who would want to use his software.
Yeah.
And they're usually the upstart, entrepreneurial, stay-at-home mums and dads who want to create a product and want to sell it on the internet. And he's very much pushing that, and it was a very good sales pitch. But he still has to be able to go on to something like that, talk eloquently, to be able to discuss certain topics and also then sell his business at the same time. And part of that is kind of like, that's that self-brand thing, right? Is your ability to convey yourself and sell a message and tell stories.
Yeah. I agree. Anyway, Mr. Greenhorn, how's your week been? What have you been up to?
This week's been kind of interesting because I don't have any shoots this week. Like I've not been out with my camera filming anything. And to be honest, I don't think I did anything last week, or maybe I did. No, so like for 2 weeks I haven't actually been out shooting anything. And I think I talked about this whole thing previously about me transitioning. Like this year, again, a lot of these feel like they're pretty wanky terms, but anyway, this year was about getting smart. I've been very good at being the technician within my business, doing all of the things, being really good at stuff, not only coming up with the ideas and the strategy, but also implementing the ideas and strategy, also then selling them all, like networking, marketing, creating, like accounting, like everything. I'm doing absolutely everything within the business, which is fine, but there's a capacity issue, right? There's only so much I can do. And when your diary is so full with doing, then it's quite difficult to think and to pivot and do bits and pieces. And it's quite easy, to be honest, to build a business if you have a service that people want to buy and you're really good at delivering on that service. And I've done that across two different industries, I guess. So this year was about actually thinking, okay, I know I can do the thing really well. That's fine. That's a given. And there are also lots of other people that are very good at doing the thing. Now it's about, how do I still do the thing, but be a bit more choosy about it, and also try and outsource and build a business? So become a bit smarter about not necessarily me doing all of the things. Maybe I can hire some people and get them in the business, and then maybe work more on the stuff like the 2 10% of the 8. So there's a 10-80-10 rule of I'll do the 10% where I talk to the clients and I help them build their ideas and their strategies and all the things that I really enjoy from a creative perspective. But I don't actually have to build the house. I don't have to do all the editing and everything. But then at the last 10%, I make sure the quality control's there and I make sure that I manage it all and it's all the best product that can be put out for the client. So that's been the past 2 weeks. I've had more space to think about that, and that's quite scary because a lot of my utility or my self-worth has come from my ability to do stuff rather than think about things. And communicate and ask people to do things that I would normally do. So the confidence in that is building and it feels really, really nice. And this week in particular, that's led me to be like, hey, I should start a Greenhorn Creative podcast because I know how to do it. Like it's all set up. I also have a team that can edit it for me. So it doesn't feel like a big lift because I don't have to edit all this stuff. There's also this Autopod thing that I found last week that I was used for this podcast. Like there's lots of stuff that's really helping the time constraint that can come from that. So in effect, I have created a podcast. I did it in basically a day where I now have artwork that's getting designed through something called 99 Designs. So you probably, I was telling Laura about this as well, but basically it's owned by Vistaprint. So basically what it does is you fill in a brief. So it asks you a bunch of questions and some stuff. You select which package you want. So they can be like the low end package for this podcast artwork was like 150 quid and it goes all the way up to like £800 or £900. And what you do is you then pick the price and it depends on how many designers will then bid for it. So the way they bid for it is they create a bunch of designs bidding for this thing. And you go through the process, they basically tender for it in effect. Then you go through the process of selecting it and then essentially just selecting the winner and they get paid.
Wow.
So you get loads and loads of like stuff. You don't have to like go on a Fiverr, find one person, then give them like their details and whatever else. And it's fantastic. And you can do it for websites, product design, merch design, like literally you name it. Honestly, it's a really good platform. So anyway, 150 quid. So I've currently got some designs coming in, so that's getting made. I then set up something called Calendly. You may or may not have used that.
Yeah, we use that.
So I have a Calendly thing. I've got a bunch of contacts that I'd already listed up. Sent them a bunch of DMs or WhatsApp messages or whatever else. So I've got, over the course of June, I've got 12 booked in.
Wow.
So then 12 booked in, that's, 3 months worth of content already done. And now I can basically outsource that to the editing team. They'll polish it all off for me, send it to me, and I'll just have it uploaded, or I'll get them upload it, or who knows, whatever, I'll make it work. But it just showed me that now I have this capacity to do things. And I feel that podcasting in this vein, in particular, when you bring guests on, it's an excuse to network. Yeah. It's one of the best ways to potentially network, because now I can do it through Riverside. I can get really high quality recordings. It means that you then get to know someone. They get to know you a little bit, because normally it's just over WhatsApp or it's a DM or it's on Instagram or whatever else. So that's been really good this week, kind of getting that done and organizing it, I guess. And then I had an interesting conversation with a chap on Tuesday who runs a business mentorship thing, which is pretty big. It's massive, actually. It's done a few million a year. And he has obviously loads of coaches that work with his businessy mentoring thing. So, he knew what I was doing. I had one of his pieces of content edited, tweaked it a little bit, and then just sort of said, hey, I made this for you. What do you think? Have you got anything? Have you got an editor for this already? Knowing full well he does. But really, the golden goose was, can I get into the, do you know what I mean? To sell to the 2,000 coaches that he mentors. And we had a chat. It ended up being like a 2-hour chat about just business and life, because we kind of grew up together through the fitness industry from the early days to where we are now and what we're doing. So it's kind of interesting to catch up and talk about what's been going on and what things have been happening. So then now that's turned into me. I'm going to fly out to Belfast next Wednesday for the day.
Nice.
And we're just going to sit and do some mastermindery, like what are the problems in your business? What's the problems in his business? Because he's kind of like on a verge of building a personal brand kind of thing. So he's keen to understand, well, how that might help. And so I'm going to go out there, stay over on Wednesday night, and then come back Thursday. And again, the flights were like 40 quid, so it's pretty good. So
nice.
it's stuff like that, right? When you're just in the doing, when you're constantly in that utility thing of running around and filming things and editing things, it doesn't leave much room for the thing that actually can move the needle of the business, right?
Yeah, definitely.
And because I've got this kind of deep work space, I'm able to in effect like turn that into something that like networking or opportunities or and still have things in the background earning me money or like working essentially.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like, my week really, to be honest. Things like that. Now here we are and it's Friday. How the hell did it become Friday?
How's Olivia? She doing
Olivia she's great. She's really good. She's in a spot of getting up at like 5:30 in the morning, 10 to 6 in the morning, And she doesn't scream and shout. She's not like kind of stamping her feet and shouting all about it, but she is she's awake.
She's up.
She's awake. Yeah.
I think it's these are early nights. I mean, my kids were 5:15 this morning, just running about upside up, and they just see the light through they go to the bathroom, and that's the trigger because the bathroom doesn't have a blind on it, and they're like, it's light. My eyes are now adjusted.
Time to wake up.
Wake everyone up.
I would say there's two things that I've actually enjoyed with Olivia very much so. And again, it was, so Monday in particular, I was having a very reflective minute where it was just kind of, it's nuts to think that I've designed a life. Because I have, like I've chosen what I want to do. Like we all do. Even if we hate what we're doing, we still chose to do it.
Yeah.
To some extent. And it's like, I get to take Monday off and then me and Olivia go off to do football. Do you know what I mean? Like that's
wholesome.
That's
nice.
Like at 9:40 in the morning. Crazy. It just feels great. It's fantastic. So that in itself has been a really nice way of thinking. And I can still earn money again. I still fine, pay my bills, do my thing. And then the other one we had last week, we were on our second week of swimming lessons. And we went underwater.
Ooh.
Which was kind of, it's weird how, it's weird.
Do you have your armbands on?
No armbands, carabiner. Because you can't swim, let's be honest. But it's one of those kind of weird things where I didn't think I'd be the kind of like, oh, don't do that to my little baby.
Yeah.
But it just turns you into that, doesn't it? So she doesn't like it. She's kind of getting used to it. There's still a bit of trepidation about it. She's kind of like, she's okay, not so okay. And then the swimming instructor was like, what I'm going to do is I'll put her under and then I'll pass her to you. So we'll kind of do like under and pass on. And I was like, it's a good thing for her to do. Let's do it. But at the same time, I was like crying inside, like, oh my God, don't do that to my baby. And she went under, came up, and she was obviously not very happy about it. But then she saw everyone clapping and going, yay. And she just started going, yay, did it. And I was like, oh, what a girl. Yeah. So it's shit like that, man. Like, that it's a pretty wild thing being a parent and being a dad.
Yeah.
And I think this past week has been pretty cool, pretty reflective on that, I guess.
Nice. In the kind of opposite of like Isla being older now, 8.5-ish, we've let her go out to the park herself after school, which is terrifying.
She'll be doing heroin in no time, Neil.
So there's a park like across the road from us, small park. It's just like, I don't know, 1 minute to walk there, but it's not in distance. It's not in like eye shot of us. Anyway, some of our friends have been going there, so she asked us, do you mind if I go? And that was like a moment of, oh God. So we set the boundaries. We made it clear what she can and can't do, and like she's not allowed to go to other people's houses unless she asks, and all that kind of stuff. And she's been very, very good. So she's come back to us and said, oh, they've gone off to somewhere else because some parents let their kids go further. And
have you stuck an air tag on her or something like that just to make sure she's?
No, for Christmas she got a watch that has like GPS tracking and stuff. It wasn't charged, so like she didn't have that, but that is like the backup option, and we may let her go further. But yeah, she was really good. We put trust in her, and she followed through. So she asked us, or she told us that the people were going to someone's house, and we've also kind of both mutually decided, me and Rebecca, that we want to have an open door policy with her friends. So if they want to come over and play in our garden or in a trampoline or a climbing frame, then like that's absolutely fine, because we want to have that kind of, the house is safe, or it's a safe place. So if all her friends, I mean, we had 6 people in the garden Tuesday, Wednesday. It was just nice seeing like Isla interacting with them all, but also them feeling like they can come around. And yeah.
Well done, Neil. What a great little you'll be going to the parenting awards wearing your Peaky Blinders outfit.
Top parent of the year in Scotland.
Yeah, I can see how that's kind of interesting, because in a weird sense, the weird sense of when you're, what I feel like has happened when you become a parent or I've become a parent is you start to think of like the worst things that could possibly happen in a kind of an irrational way.
Yeah.
Even me, who's seems to be very systematic and kind of like this is how it works. I even still find myself going into some irrational behaviors of like, yeah, but if you put her underwater, she might drown. What's going to happen? I'm like, nah, she's surrounded by everybody. It's perfectly fine. And whereas like, even just you talking about Isla going away by herself, I'm like, she get hit by a car.
I know.
I'm like,
or
I'm able to leave
in the back of a van.
like anything, like any kind of crap. Like that doesn't happen.
Yeah.
And you can't take that type of view on the world and how it's going to work, because she's got to fall over and graze her knees. She's got to get hurt. She's got to figure out stuff for herself, because that's how she becomes an adult. That's how she survives in the world. And if you just kind of wrap them up in cotton wool, so much so, and even like the GPS thing, like we went through it when we had Olivia. It was like, there's all this technology now you can buy. We got like mattresses that tell you whether they're breathing or something, and there's a heart rate monitors and all sorts of stuff, right? It's amazing. But there's part of me of just, when do you just use your parenting instinct and just kind of trust the fact that this is all going to work out?
Yeah.
So
the watch thing can like make phone calls and stuff and phone us. And we were at a campsite last year where a girl had it. She was round at us. We didn't know who she was, but she phoned her mum and was like, "Mum, do you mind if I have some sweets or some popcorn or something?" And her mum said, "Yeah, that's absolutely fine." So it gives that like, so it stops Isla being sneaky and...
Okay, you were sneaky.
Yeah. Maybe not sneaky, but like it gives the Isla ability to kind of go over to someone's house. Can I go further than this park?
Okay, but then
instead
it's
of
like
going behind your back.
Sure, but she's gonna.
Yeah, but you can give her the opportunity to not.
Okay, well, she could just not then.
What?
What I'm saying is like you're in that instance is like, to me, and this is just my opinion, by the way. This is not necessarily a statement of fact. The fact that child had to phone her mum to ask her if she could eat a sweetie seems like there's some disconnect going on there. It's like, there's a certain point where you don't need to ask permission for things.
Yeah, no, I agree. That's a bit of a silly example. I'm thinking more of the serious examples of, oh, my friends have now gone to this person's house. Do you mind if I go?
Okay, but you'd already discussed that.
Yeah, no,
you'd already discussed the point of like,
ask.
Yeah, you should ask, or we just want to have some sort of plan of what's happening. And if that plan changes, then either you have to come home and either ask us, or it doesn't happen. Like we need to just know where it goes. So yeah, I guess maybe when we didn't have mobile phones, we'd go to our mate's house and phone them. But then she's kind of broken the rules because she's gone to her mate's house and phoned you.
yeah.
So
and
I don't know. I'm just kind of
back to our house and there's
kind of
efficiency
like
benefits.
I'm kind of like in the middle of it, where it's like I get the idea of you want to parent, but I'm also just keen to just perhaps let them be kids, and they're going to be mischievous and not do everything you tell them to do, because we didn't. That you got arrested and taken home in a police car.
I did. Maybe it's a podcast episode. Stupid things we've done as a kid.
I didn't do any stupid stuff. That was perfectly fine.
No, cycled around a bus station, but bus park naked.
It wasn't a bus park. Was it a
That's
bus
pretty
park?
stepid. Yeah,
It wasn't naked. Technically, I had my boxers on.
Inverurie school.
And I wasn't a kid either. I was 18. That was a wild evening. So yeah. I did actually forget to mention that I went for a run this week, and I've been to the gym.
Wow.
Incredible, isn't it?
You feeling strong? Feeling good?
My chest really hurts. I did actually really enjoy my run. Annoyingly, my fitness gave in before my mind did. Like I still wanted to like kind of. You probably felt this, probably certainly on longer runs, but I kind of felt really good. You know, when you're kind of in the middle of it, it's like 3 or 4K. I was in it. I was like, this feels really good. I'm going to try and push to like 6K. So when I get to the 3K mark, I'll turn around and run home. And it got to like the 5K bit, and you know my headphones, it turned. It went, you know, you've done 5 kilometers in whatever time. And I was like, I'm done.
Walk home now.
Yeah, basically. But it's just really nice because I'm a pretty fair weather runner, to be honest, or sort of fair weather trainer. So yeah, it's been good, and I'm hopefully going to go again today if I get some time to do some bits and pieces. I do have time. I should just do it. So yeah, it's been good and it feels nice. But I don't know if it's a turning point. Who knows? But it feels so bad having anxiety to go to the gym.
Yeah.
And then kind of building some level of like building some resistance in your mind and even excuses in your mind. Like there's a few different gym options for me. There's one where I can drive to it. It's 10 or 12 minutes, good equipment. It's all right, but the music's really, really, really loud. There's kind of just a bunch of wankers in there. I won't say what gym. There's then I was looking at like health clubs, and I could get a David Lloyd membership, you know, or a Nuffield membership or something, and I was like, no, that's ridiculous. Like, I don't need to pay that much. And then the best, quite frankly, the best option, which it is like it's a 5-minute walk around the corner. It's like a little personal training studio, lets you train in there for £5, you know. But the equipment's old and it's not great and blah blah blah. But then I'm building that in my mind. I'm like, yeah, but it's not very good, and I need to go there. I'm like, shut up. Like you're not trying to compete in Mr. Olympia. You're just trying to like maintain your body so you feel more confident and be healthy. You know, it's just such a horrible turmoil in my mind. And come to think of it, I was talking to that chap on Tuesday about it, and he used to be a high level bodybuilder, very high level bodybuilder of the juicy kind. And he stopped doing it because he was like, this is just ridiculous because it's bad for your health and all that kind of stuff. And then he was quite interesting because he was like, for at least 2 years, I was kind of in this really limbo phase where I didn't really care anymore. I didn't go to the gym, didn't really do anything. And I was like, that makes sense. It's true.
Is he back in it?
Yeah, he's still like exercising now. He was talking about doing hot yoga.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's kind of like that is true, right? It's just kind of like it's when you have something that forms that's so hard imprinted on your identity. It's then when you're not maintaining that high level of identity, which is going to the gym 4 or 5 times a week, like describing yourself as a bodybuilder, watching bodybuilding, doing bodybuilding. It doesn't seem worth. What's the point?
Yeah, I guess it's thinking of that, and you know this, but thinking of the bigger picture of like, why am I doing it? What's the benefits? And maybe it's not gym anymore, Gordon, for you. Maybe it's going to football training or...
Yeah, but I don't have any mates. So.
Join a football club.
But so this, and again, I think, I don't know whether this is an excuse or it's not, but I do hold the thing of like, if I don't hang out with Olivia and Laura, or you, or my in-laws, like, it has to be better.
Yeah.
Which seems a bit silly. So it's kind of like, if I go to football, I'd have to travel into London. And I could probably do some football thing in London. But yeah, it would be like, I'd have to like, it's an hour trip in, an hour trip out.
Yeah.
It's an hour to play it. So it's probably a good 3 or 4 hours worth of my time. And Olivia goes to grandparents 2 days a week. She does nursery 2 days a week. So then I only see her at weekends, or one like full day a week, or I don't know. Do you see what I mean? It's kind of like I start to think about the activities.
There might be a local football club near you in Surrey somewhere.
Could be. I don't know if there is actually because I'd probably do 5-a-side now. Like, I'm 36, Neil, or pushing 36. Right, that's the tail end of my career now.
I mean, there's definitely, I see a few 5-a-side games going on in the big playing fields beside us, and I'd say they're similar age to me, maybe between 30 and 40 years old. I'm shit at football, so I'm not joining, but you used to be pretty good. Colony Park days.
I used to be all right. Kid tour captain.
But maybe that's what you need. Maybe gym's not for you anymore, Gordon. Maybe it's other types of fitness.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. Maybe I should explore it, because I do get on at Laura sometimes when I think the T2 Fit thing she goes to, they're doing a summer games, and Yeah, Laura's amazing. She's really taking on the gym and really, I love it when she comes home and tells me all about her deadlifting and what she's doing and all that kind of stuff. It's quite, and hip thrusting. So it's kind of interesting to hear her kind of be like, oh, I don't really want to do it. I don't know anyone there. And it's kind of, which is understandable and they're all normal feelings. But I do find myself going, yeah, but it's good for you. You could do this. When I should probably take that idea.
Yeah.
Last but not least, I did titillate the audience with the idea that I've been selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace.
You did.
I'd love to know how you get on with that experience. And have you had any funny ones?
And then you can fill us in. Yeah. So I think overall, it goes pretty well. But there's been a couple of occasions where one example is we were giving away our sofas. I think I said 50 quid. It was old sofas, 50 quid. And this like Vauxhall Corsa turned up at the door. And this is it's like a 3-seater sofa and a 2-seater sofa. And I was like, what's this guy doing? And he's from Edinburgh. So anyway, he turns up, gives me the 50 quid cash. And he's like, do you mind helping me with the sofas to the car? It's like, what do you mean? Like, you're in a Vauxhall Corsa. And he was going to put one on the roof and then have the 2-seater sofa. I've got a photo of it, the 2-seater sofa sticking out his boot, and just like tie it with rope. And I was like, I don't know. And he's going to go across to the Forth Road Bridge, which is like a windy bridge. And I was like, if police see you, I'm not sure it's going to go too well. I was like, I'll be fine. So anyway, I helped him on, and that was probably the weirdest interaction I've had.
Like, people are adults, right? He's an adult driving a car, right? So if he thinks he can stick it on his roof, then by all means, crack
with no
on.
roof bars or anything, just literally flat on the roof.
Yeah, fucking go for it, mate. It's all yours.
So yeah, but like generally, it seems pretty good, and we've bought a lot of stuff from it, especially like kids' bikes. Like, see when you get into like the boys' age bikes and Isla's bikes, second hand, they're £300, which is mad, especially if you're buying 3 bikes. There's this brand, because they need to be lightweight for them to be able to ride it. So yeah, the bikes for kids is just, it goes up, and they obviously grow fast, so they don't last that long. So yeah, we get bikes secondhand, but they're still extortionate. But yeah, I like it. Anyway, what's your story this week?
It's just like, maybe I'm just a grumpy old man, but I've put a bunch of stuff on there, and let's say one of them is 250 quid. So someone will send me a message going, I'll give you £180. But the best bit is, I'll go, no, it's on for £250. And they go, yeah, bro, but it's old. It's up to me, mate.
Yeah.
Like, you don't have to buy it.
Yeah. It's a price.
You could go, oh, okay, how about £225?
Yeah.
And I'll go, I'm still looking for 250. And they go, right, okay, 230. Do you know what I mean? It's not, yeah, it's old, bro. Get out.
So is it like camera stuff you're selling, or?
Yeah, it's like, the Rode mics. I think the guy's coming at 10 o'clock, but there's the 2 Rode mics that I had. I'm going to sell them and just use this, because like, what's the point? And they don't depreciate in value that much, so they'll be 150 quid or whatever else. And then there's like a little drone thing I'm selling. There's an extender thing I'm selling. There's a lens I'm selling.
Is Facebook the best place for that kind of thing?
It's just no fees.
Yeah, true. eBay,
right? Because you put it on eBay, like it's going to cost me probably 10 or 20 quid to list it, and I've got to post it somewhere. And whereas, and again, another one. Yeah, I'll buy it off you, but can you take it to me?
Yeah, I've had that. Yeah,
and it's like
selling a bit of furniture. Can you deliver it? No,
it's like no. It says collection only, cash on collection.
Yeah,
like that's it. That's my deal.
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, but you're an hour and a half away. I'm like, yeah, I am. Like, do you want it?
Come and get it.
But I think some of the lessons for me on this is that I don't need the cash, which again, very privileged position to be so. And I'm just going to sell it, and then I'll have a bit of pocket money for something. Maybe I'll buy another camera or buy a toy or whatever else, right? But it's just kind of interesting to be in that position where if someone's like, I'll give you £10 and you put it on for £1,000 and you're like, nah, not interested. Can't be bothered. Equally, if they don't come and get it, I don't care. Like, whatever. It'd be a nice to have. So, yeah, guys, coming at 10 o'clock. So we should probably end this podcast from here if you're unless you've got any more interesting insights to the week.
I don't. I think that was a bit of an odd podcast, but hopefully the 2.5 listeners that are left enjoyed it.
Who cares? We're not doing it for them, Neil. We're doing it for us.
Yeah, exactly. Fuck them.
We've hit over those 4,000 downloads, and the reels are churning. You know, Neil's on it.
They are. The real thing's weird. Some get like 100 likes, some get 1 like, some get 2 likes, some get 10 likes. It's like the algorithm. It's odd. Anyway.
Who cares?
I don't care. Yeah.
I think it's, if it's a low lift to be able to make the reels and then post them, which it is, let's be honest, then, and it helps some level of organic growth of the podcast, then fine. Yeah. But if it was taking you like 2 or 3 hours, I'd be like, nah.
No, I think it's probably 15 minutes.
Right. Perfect. All right then. Well, yes, if you are one of the 3.5 listeners that gets to the end of this podcast each and every week, thank you very much for having us in your ear holes and us talking about everything from gender equality to fat old men at banquet parties and Facebook Marketplace. I hope that was a riveting podcast overall. If you do want to listen to when I do launch the next podcast, it'll probably launch in like June or something when I've recorded a bunch of them. By all means, it'll be called the Greenhorn Creative Podcast. So if you do want to check it out, I'm sure I can promote it on here, Neil. Is that all right? Or do you want a paid segment?
Yeah, paid.
This first sponsor of the podcast.
I'll get the contracts.
Yes, if you want to follow us on Instagram, Neil does clip some of the Instagram reels, which is quite fun. But if you'd like to see the high quality recording of this on YouTube, you can. Neil is in 720p and often sits so far away from the camera. He's got a pinhead, whereas you can see me in my nice new blue sexy background. Anyway, I'll shut up now. I'm just kind of dragging out a little bit too much. But yeah, thanks very much for listening, and we'll see you in the next one. Cheers.